me take you back. It's the beginning of the summer of my junior year, and I've just begun my senior project on 3D printing. I'm currently driving to the Columbus Idea Foundry, which is located in the fairly decrepit part of Columbus. But after miraculously reaching my destination, I parked in what seemed like the safest spot possible and walked up to an unmarked, unlabeled door and knocked. But as soon as this door was opened, a whole new world was unveiled to me as I walked in and saw 30-some individuals of all ages and all walks of life, all assembled in the name of something I'd never seen before, a 3D printer. It was at this moment I began to become fascinated with what my project would become. Fast forward a couple of months later, and I'm near completion of my project, having had a transformative experience in the collaborative workspace of the Columbus Idea Foundry. After spending over 100 hours working on my project, I'd also become aware of this movement known as the Maker Movement. The Maker Movement is a nationwide movement of do-it-yourselfers who pair high-tech machinery with an open, social environment. Workspaces known as Fab Labs are inspired by the Maker Movement and hold the potential to change education. Through my time at the Idea Foundry and with the knowledge of the Maker Movement, I began to see the next big revolution in education. A Fab Lab is any open environment where high-tech machines are paired with advanced computers. These computers allow for people to create designs, and then these designs can then be created in 2 or 3 dimensions. So for example, machines in the Fab Lab can include a 3D printer, a laser cutter, or a vinyl engraver. And then the true value of Fab Labs really shines through in how people are able to integrate the entire design process into one room with ease. So let's say someone starts with an idea. From this idea comes data, and whether that data is in the form of a sketch or a digital design, this represents the next stage of the design process. And where previously one would have to send the design off to a location for like a long printing or a long creation process, with Fab Labs, people are able to expedite this process. So with a couple of clicks and a little bit of creativity, anyone can create entirely bespoke objects. And then the final step of the learning process, like learning from yourself, whether that is learning to improve something or envisioning something new altogether, this process is sped up rapidly through the production process of the Fab Lab. So on the topic of changing education, Fab Labs and the skills necessary to be successful in one are easily integrated into the classroom. Through the use of Fab Lab technology, students are able to broaden their understanding and also broaden their learning horizons. So for example, students in a science class could create their own tools, where previously they had to follow a strict procedure to get a set result in an experiment. Instead, they could create their own tools for use to better understand the concepts and apply it in a way that means most to them. And then in math classes, students could apply the concepts they've already learned to, for example, like predict the volume or structural integrity of an object before it's even created. And then art students, who may be limited to like the realm of pen, paper, and canvas previously, could instead broaden out to like the world of computer design and just learn more, broaden their understanding, and just learn new mediums of creation. So previously I've only talked about how Fab Labs would integrate into the educational process, but there's a lot of opportunity for community outreach and involvement. This is where the most important aspect of Fab Labs comes into play, in my opinion, and that is the idea of observational learning. So for example, someone's working on a complicated project, others can observe this process and then learn something by observing. No longer is learning just going to happen with teachers and students in the classroom. And this is one of the most important ideas of the Fab Lab, and this is where the idea of changing education really comes into play. And it's also important that these Fab Labs remain to be used only for personal ventures and not really for businesses. So why is all this important? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Fab Labs contain high-tech machinery and computers. And if not for these labs, it's likely students would not see this type of computers or technology until college or even the workplace. By getting early on experience with this technology, students might get a leg up and be able better to succeed in the future. And then second, the open social environment of Fab Labs promotes observational learning. And through this observation, anyone can learn from anyone. And no longer is teaching restricted just to teachers. So like older students with more experience could teach the younger students, but then the younger students could also teach the older kids a thing or two. And like where in the school, looking off others or cheating, as you may know it, is kind of frowned upon, and Fab Labs behavior is exactly what you want to do to be successful. And then third, the open environment of Fab Labs promotes a learning curriculum that is not set. And because of this, students are more likely to be driven in what they're learning and just not feel the need to goof off. So without practical applications, this may be a cool idea, but luckily, as a part of my senior project on 3D printing, I had the opportunity to go to this Fab Lab Learning Tour. And through this tour, we toured many Fab Labs where many of the impacts of Fab Labs can be seen. The first we toured is the MIT Center for Bits and Atoms, where millions of dollars worth of technology are hosted and some of the smartest students in the world work on complicated projects. So things like from robots used in movies to nanoscale creations are made here. This Fab Lab was envisioned with a class called How to Create Almost Anything, and in this class, students were tasked with creating a variety of objects using the many different tools they had at their disposal. So this shows how Fab Labs have the potential to revolutionize education. Next, we visited the South End Technology Center and McKinley School, and at these schools, all the impacts of the Fab Labs can be seen. Older students teach younger students, it's an open environment, there's really no curriculum. But one day in one of these classes, in one of those Fab Labs, a class was set to come in. And in this class, the teacher warned that there was a student who would often misbehave, just wanted to goof off all the time. But this class came and went, and no distractions really noticed. It just went a normal day in the Fab Lab. So it seemed that with the Fab Lab's open, non-set curriculum, the student just really didn't feel the need to goof off. So through the meshing of many different types of people, an open social environment, and high-tech computers and technology, Fab Labs have the potential to change education. Thank you.